Can you afford the 2026 Honda CR-V? Well, these numbers might surprise you, but stay tuned throughout because this is going to be a highly detailed video. I'm going to be running through all of the 2026 trim levels along with the 2025 CR-V as well, because I am partnered with AutoCompanion, and this company is offering 10% off the MSRP on the pure gas models of the 2025 CR-Vs and 8% off the MSRP on the hybrid 2025 CR-Vs. And a subscriber of mine has also requested that I include a used car comparison as well, so I will be including that here as well. But let's get started with the 2026 numbers. As always, I don't recommend anyone pay full sticker price for just about any vehicle. You should try to get something off of MSRP. Now, I don't think you will be getting 8 or 10% off, but the least that you can do is look up the invoice price of a new vehicle. So I just looked up the 2025 invoice price on JD Power just to get a good ballpark estimate. And for the entry-level LX front-wheel drive / all-wheel drives, it's about a $1,200 to $1,300 difference between MSRP to invoice. And this discrepancy increases when you go up the trim levels. For this example, I just gave all trim levels an equal $1,500 off the MSRP. That should be possible. I mean, most dealerships should not shun you away for selling you the vehicle at slightly under invoice, and certainly not for above invoice. And keep in mind the 2026 CR-V prices, it has gone up by a little over $800 for the lower trims and even over $1,000 on the higher trim levels compared to the 2025 CR-Vs. So it is imperative that you get something off. I'm also going to be running numbers on the all-wheel drive trims just to make it more simple, and I'm just using the MSRP plus the destination. I'm not adding any additional colors or options or accessories to the price, just so we are clear. Now, first I went through and I ran the lease numbers on all of the 2026 CR-Vs, and the lease is not good. It's like 6.72% for the interest rate of the lease on all of the trim levels. How did I find this out? Well, AutoCompanion also has a free leasing calculator that shows you the interest rate of a lease, the residual values, and the incentives that you can get in your local zip code. So even if you're not going to be leasing a vehicle, this is a very powerful tool. You should check it out and you should run some numbers. And this way you can also see all of the incentives cleanly laid out, because incentives stack on top of whatever dealer discount you are able to get. So if you qualify for military or something, that's going to stack on top of whatever discount you were able to negotiate. As of right now, June of 2025, there is a conquest and a loyalty offer of $750. I didn't include any of them, but it's definitely worth taking a look at, but that's only for the lease. Keep in mind, interest rates, incentives, lease programs, all of these things, they do change every month, but this calculator will also update every month. With all the taxes and fees included, with zero money down on the lease for 3 years, 10,000 miles, using Pennsylvania as the example state, a base model LX all-wheel drive, the lease payment, it's going to be $562.44. EX is going to be $588, EXL $635. For the entry-level sport hybrid all-wheel drive, $595 per month for the lease. The Trail Sport, that's the all-new trim level for 2026. Trail Sport Hybrid, that's going to be $620 a month. The Sport L Hybrid, $653. And the top of the line Sport Touring Hybrid, it's going to be $685.07. These are your lease payments for the 2026 CR-V. Not cheap at all, and that high interest rate on the lease is not helping. Now, regarding the finance, when you go on Honda's own website, they do not have any incentivized finance rates for the 2026 models, so we have to find our own good interest rate. I like to use PenFed. PenFed is a credit union. You don't have to be military or anything. You can just put $5 into a savings account and you're automatically a member. I'm not affiliated with this bank, but I do like them because they seem to have some of the best interest rates for new and used vehicles. For new, they got about 4.79% for 60 months. We're going to continue to put no money down for all of these examples. Once again, Pennsylvania is the example state. I'm using the tax, title, and fees from AutoCompanion's leasing calculator. We're going to apply that to these finance calcs as well. We're using that discount price that I mentioned before. So the entry-level LX all-wheel drive, the finance is going to be $676.82. You move up from there, the EX, $721 a month, EXL, $765 a month. The Sport Hybrid, $770. Trail Sport Hybrid, $803.80. Sport L, $832, and the Sport Touring Hybrid, $872.46. Yeah, these numbers are astronomical. Keep in mind, we're talking about a CRV here. This is not a Porsche Cayenne or a BMW X5, nothing like that. This is bottom barrel economy SUV stuff here. Now, there is a Kelley Blue Book article that states that your total monthly car payment, including your insurance and your fuel, it should not exceed more than 10 to 20% of your net monthly take-home pay. And of course, anything in between is also fine, like, 15% of your net monthly income. But yeah, to comfortably afford a vehicle, 10% of your net monthly income is pretty brutal, as you're about to see. Okay, so to find the average insurance and the fuel numbers, I just did a quick Google search, and the Google AI, it spat out some numbers. For the insurance, the Google AI, it estimates between $90 to $110 per month. So that's fine. I just went with $110 for all of these trim levels. For the fuel, I felt that Google AI was a bit OD with it. I mean, $2,705 per year for the gas model CRVs. I thought that was a bit much. I actually went with roughly $2,000 per year, or $170 per month for the gas models. The Google AI estimated $1,300 per year for the hybrid. I just went with $1,500 per year. Definitely overestimated the hybrid fuel, so $125 per month, but regardless, I don't mind overestimating a few things, because some people might be living in a state that has a perpetual annual property tax. Other people drive too much, other people less so. Regardless, just to keep everybody happy, I'm just gonna slightly overinflate some numbers. So adding everything up, okay, for the entry-level LX all-wheel drive CRV, with the lease payment, the insurance, and the fuel cost, we're at $842.44. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but we're going to top out at $920.07 for the top-of-the-line Sport Touring Hybrid. That means to comfortably afford a new 2026 CRV on a lease, you got to be bringing in, on average, between $4,200 to around $9,000 per month in net monthly income. Again, this fluctuates depending on the trim levels, but I have all the numbers listed on screen for you to take a look at. You can even screenshot it. And for the finance, it's even worse. Your total monthly finance cost for the entry-level LX all-wheel drive, it's going to be $956.82, and we're topping out at $1,107.46. So to comfortably afford a new CRV 2026, for this to be 20% of your net monthly income, you got to be bringing in, on average, around $5,000 per month, and around $10,000 per month for this to be 10% of your net monthly income. And on the high end, for that Sport Touring Hybrid, you should be bringing in between $5,500 to $11,000 per month in net monthly income to finance the Sport Touring Hybrid. Very unfortunate numbers. There's a few reasons why these numbers are so brutal. It's because we have a very small discount, we have high interest rates, no real incentives. All of this is contributing to a surprisingly not very affordable economy car. Now, of course, I could extend the finance out even further if I wanted to 72 months, 84 months, but I don't really want to promote that because that's not very wise. In fact, there's actually another rule known as the 24-10 rule, where you put down 20% of the vehicle's price, you finance for 4 years, and the vehicle payment should not be more than 10% of your net monthly income. That's a little OD. I don't really think that's necessary. I don't mind pushing it up to 60 months, and I don't really think you should put any money down on a lease or a finance. I think you should just get the gap insurance, and once the vehicle is close to its payoff, then you can pay cash for the remaining balance. I just think that's a better way to do it. Again, none of this is financial advice. You can do as you please. This is all for entertainment. Regardless though, I did mention that with AutoCompanion, you are able to save 10% off the MSRP on the gas models and 8% off on the hybrid CRVs for the 2025 model year. We can certainly look at those numbers now, but keep in mind, AutoCompanion, he is a car broker. What he does is he partners with the top dealerships in a certain region. Most of his dealerships are located in the Washington, D.C. area. And to access these deals, he does charge a broker fee. It's around $999. He did say that if you go on his website and you fill out an inquiry form and you mention my channel, Meyn Motor Group, he did say that he'll take some money off of his broker fee. I believe it's around $50. So I actually included a $949 broker fee into all the calculations you're about to see. for the 2025 CRV. But if you're not local to DC, he does offer nationwide shipping, but shipping is something you have to pay extra for. That I did not include in this simulation. I'm just going to assume that you're picking the vehicle up at DC. All right, hopefully that made sense. And I'm actually just going to roll with the exact same MSRPs as the 2026 CRV. Yes, I do know that on average, the 2025s naturally start at around $800 to $1,000 less than the 2026s. I just got slightly lazy. We're just going to roll with the higher MSRPs. I just applied AutoCompanion's discounts. And this time the lease, it is interesting because if you lease a 2025 CRV, all of the trim levels, they actually come with a $1,200 lease incentive. Everybody qualifies for that. However, the interest rate of the 2025 CRV lease, it is a rather high 6.6% versus the 6.72 for the 2026. Yeah, still not a great program. Even though you're getting that $1,200 lease cash, I would actually still avoid the lease. It would be a different story if the interest rate of the lease was like 1 or 2%, similar to Mazda. That way you would actually be making equity in the vehicle. That way you can take advantage of that lease credit, and then you can just buy out the vehicle at the end of the lease. But here, that's not really a viable strategy. In fact, I feel like the only people who should be leasing a 2025 CRV are people who are rather well off and they were planning on paying cash for the vehicle. You should perhaps lease the vehicle first to get that $1,200 and then buy out the vehicle after 30 days instead of paying cash up front. That's if Honda Financial allows you to do that. It's just something you're gonna have to ask Honda Financial before pulling the trigger, because these things, they can kind of change every month. But I just wanted to mention that. Regardless though, your lease payments, it's going to range between $509 for the entry-level LX to $620 for the top of the line Sport Touring with everything included. Financing a 2025 CRV, we actually do have some incentivized finance programs for the 2025 CRV. We have 3.99% for up to 36 months. Obviously, that's going to be very expensive and you have to be well off to do that. But we also have 3.49% for the hybrids, again, for up to 36 months. I didn't run these calculations. I actually stuck with 4.99% for 60 months and 4.49% for 60 months on the hybrid. I know PenFed was slightly less at 4.79%. I just wanted to keep things easy, and I figured some people might not want to open a PenFed account, and if you're already at a Honda dealership or you're buying a vehicle through AutoCompanion, it might just be easier for you to get the Honda loan, so I'm just using 4.99% for the gas models. But you do have a subtle savings with the hybrid. Regardless though, the finance payments, it's going to be $643 a month for the LX, $682 for the EX, and $721 for the EXL. Still very high payments, even though we're getting that discount from AutoCompanion. Now regarding the hybrids, we got 4.49% for 60 months. So the Sport Hybrid is going to be $731 a month, Sport L Hybrid $786, the top of the line Sport Touring $821.99. Definitely a little bit less than the 2026, but not by a crazy amount. This is still very expensive and I'm still using the same insurance and fuel costs as before. So the total lease payments, it's going to range between $789 a month for the LX all the way up to $855 for the Sport Touring Hybrid with everything included. That means you should be making between around $4,000 to a little over $8,000 a month net monthly income to comfortably afford the lease on a 2025 CRV, even with all of the discounts and incentives included. Now, in order to afford the finance, you got to be making a little over $4,600 to around $10,000 in net monthly income to afford the finance on a discounted 2025 CRV. Once again, I must remind you, this is for a basic economy branded vehicle. This is not a luxury car. Sure, the top trim levels are rather nice, but still, it is a humble Honda. As a subscriber of mine has requested, I did run a calculation on a used CRV. I went on Car Gurus and I filtered out all of the accident vehicles. I looked at only the clean vehicles, and I looked at vehicles as old as 10 years old. And one of the best deals that I could find was actually on a 2018 CRV from a dealership known as H. Gregg. I believe they are a good, reputable dealership. I always see them advertising like high-end vehicles as well. I think they're like a big chain dealership somewhere, so I have no affiliation with these people. Regardless, they seem to have the quote-unquote best price or the best deal according to Car Gurus for the year and for the mileage. And I have to admit, 2018, that's not like some old decrepit vehicle. It's not a 2015 or anything, so that's good. But the vehicle has around 88,000 miles on it, and their price is $13,498. The original MSRP on a 2018 CR-V LX front-wheel drive, it was $24,250. So 7 years later, this thing is still trading for slightly above 50% of its original MSRP, and that's with 88K miles on it and with no warranty coverage. Once again, we're still going to be utilizing PenFed because they seem to have some of the best interest rates for used vehicles as well. They got 5.49% for 60 months. We're still going to put no money down. We're using pretty much the same taxes and fees as the new vehicle, so we're at $307.51 per month to finance a 2018 CR-V, which is supposedly one of the best deals right now. There were cheaper vehicles, they were older, they had more miles, or they were located at sketchy dealerships. I didn't really choose any of those. This is like the best example that I could find. Now for the total monthly cost, I'm actually using lower insurance numbers. I'm going with $80 per month for the insurance. And with fuel, I just went with $150 a month for fuel. I know that just because this is an older vehicle, it doesn't mean that the fuel economy is any better. In fact, it should be worse than a new vehicle, but for whatever reason, I'm just going with $150 a month for the fuel. So your total monthly finance cost, it's going to be $537.51 for this used LX base model CR-V. For this payment to be 20% of your net monthly income, you got to be bringing in $2,687 per month for you to comfortably afford this. And for this to be 10% of your net monthly income, you got to be bringing in $5,375 per month to comfortably afford the 7-year-old base model CR-V with 88,000 miles and with no warranty on it. That's just insane. I made another video talking about why used cars are not really worth it in 2025, and it's just the funniest thing ever. People in the comments were actually just making up numbers. People were like, you should always buy used. You can get a 5-year-old used car with low miles on it for half the price. Here we're looking at a 2018, so that's 7 years old. We're talking about 88,000 miles, which is not low miles. This person was referring to like 20, 30, 40,000 miles. Yeah, no, we're at 88,000 miles, not low at all. And this is still trading for a little over half its original MSRP. But again, over and over, I noticed in the comment section, people were just making up numbers to make the used car look better than what it really was. What would I do in this situation? Honestly, I wouldn't even bother with any of this. I don't like the new CR-V numbers and I don't like the used CR-V numbers either. I would actually just look for a different alternative, both new and used. For instance, AutoCompanion, he doesn't just have the CR-V, he has multiple other vehicles as well. I would maybe look into some of the Mazdas and the Nissans that he has to offer. He's got like a Kia Niro plug-in hybrid for like $300 a month. I would rather look into that perhaps. I'm not going to say disregard used because there's another way to play the used car game, and that's not necessarily through car gurus or anything like that. It's like if you're a part of a community, right? Like maybe you go to a local church or something and they have like a bulletin and Margaret is selling their, 2018 CR-V with 40,000 miles for $12,000. You didn't find that vehicle through car gurus, you found that through your local community, through your friends and your family. You know what I mean? So that's how a lot of people have gotten good quality used vehicles for a great price. The vehicle is treated well. You're getting a great price because when Margaret probably tried to sell her CR-V to some dealerships, they were probably offering her like $7,000, $8,000, maybe $9,000 for trade-in, because you know how these dealerships do when you try to trade in a vehicle. So this hypothetical Aunt Margaret, she's happy. You're happy because you got a quality used car at a low price. But some people, they're kind of like loners and they don't really have access to such a community. And so they have to just deal with the shenanigans of the used car market, and it is what it is. But regardless, these are your numbers. I'm also going to have all of AutoCompanion's information in the description box below. If you are more well off and you love the Honda brand, then of course, buying through him is a great way to save some money. There are better incentivized finance programs for those of you doing like 36-month finance terms, so that's pretty good. And of course, look on his website, take a look at the other makes and models that he has to offer. Nissans have great discounts and programs right now. Things like the Murano, it's got great deals on it. I absolutely love Mazda, the CX-5, the CX-50. These are some of the vehicles that I would personally consider in this segment, and Mazda tends to have really good lease programs, finance rates, etc. So look at the alternatives, but these are your numbers for the CR-V. Comment below, let me know your thoughts. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.